podcast is rated PG-13. Parents strongly cautioned. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching every single movie on the top 250 movies of all time list, according to IMDb. You can go to our website, mission250filmcast.com, where we have our list frozen, and all of our older episodes are there too. I am one of your hosts, Denny, and joining me are
John
and TC.
And this week, we have a very special guest.
Ooh, he introduced
I cut you off a little bit.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me. I thought I was going. I was next in line.
That's the perfect intro anyway.
Yeah.
So Andy
here.
Yes. And Andy, so Andy has a bit of a project that I would like to hear about a little bit. John told me a little bit about your independent theater project going on. So you want to start off with telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would love to. So I'm the founder and owner of Grey Duck Theater, which for those non-Minnesotans in the group is a little inside joke. But really what we are is a small, independently owned movie theater. We're really focusing on intimacy, locality, and having conversation around movies. So obviously it's great to be on a podcast where we're doing that. Our focus is really, again, making the movie experience a lot more intimate, a lot more local. Probably all of us have seen most of our lives movies in 300-seat, 150-seat theaters, which is great. I love doing that with movies like Star Wars or movies like, Avengers movies, but there are certain movies that we think can be better experienced in a smaller, more intimate way. And so that's where we're opening up in Rochester, Minnesota, hopefully November of this year.
Nice.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
And is it Minnesotan? Is that how you say that?
I mean, if you want to be real Minnesotan, you probably say Minnesotan.
Minnesota. John, are you enough of a Minnesotan to get the inside joke, or are you too much of an outsider?
I would assume it has something to do with, here in Rochester in particular, a general mascot is the Canadian goose, which is a gray goose. So I'm assuming that the gray duck is a bit of a play on that. Andy, is that how it goes?
No, actually.
No,
you're non-Minnesotans to know this, man.
Right, let's
so you guess you answered the question
you.
then, John. You answered the question.
I've only been here 2 years. I'm not real.
Yeah.
I'm not real.
Okay,
so in every other state in the United States, you play Duck, Duck, Goose. Here in Minnesota, little kids learn to play Duck, Duck, Gray Duck. Same game, just slightly different words.
Weird.
And so,
Okay.
Isn't that weird? I grew up in
weird.
California, so Duck, Duck, Goose is what I was. My wife is from this great cold land of Minnesota, so she told me that, and I didn't believe it. I thought it was crazy. So I would ask people when we met them, like, this isn't real, right? And it's real.
No,
that's how they learn it.
I thought the whole point of goose was like it's one syllable, you can say it quick and start sprinting.
Yeah.
Gray duck.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not.
Duck, 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 gray duck.
What? Why not just recite a whole sentence as you run around the circle? I don't know.
It gets tough. And actually, so they get all complicated with it. Again, I'm totally foreign to this, but they throw in different colors, but gray duck is the important one. So they'll be like purple duck, blue duck, angry duck, and then they say gray duck. So they have this whole level of complexity that the rest of us just don't know.
To throw you off, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. You can do whatever you want as long as you don't say gray duck. That's the magic formula.
Wow, that is pretty intense. I mean, I feel like as a kid, I was just walking around in circles going duck, 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 and never saying goose. duck, 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 duck. Come on, say it.
My wife always talks about how it had much longer staying power as a game because, I never played Duck, Duck, Goose that much, so that it was a boring game. But this sounds a lot more interesting, right?
Yeah. I'll go give it a shot. Yeah. But anyway, this is a movie podcast, of course, and this week...
Wait, this isn't a Duck, Duck, Goose podcast?
No,
that's
what John
Duck,
told
Duck,
me.
Goose.
Yeah,
All right, guys, I got to bow out. I thought this was Duck, Duck, Duck.
No. Well, it's really each week we focus on a child's game, and we talk about that child's game. Last week it was Ring Around the Rosie. This week we are doing Duck, Duck, Goose.
Duck, duck, duck. Gray duck, actually.
Well, yeah.
That could definitely be an NPR show for sure.
Yeah,
we could pitch that.
Not just talking about the games, but the cultural variations are fascinating.
Oh, God, it's just boring. Boring as it gets right there, folks. That's great.
John, what do we do in this podcast?
What do we do? Well, each week we watch a film and then we talk about the film. And how do we pick the films? Well, we froze the top 250 movies as rated by IMDb users in time a little over 2 years ago. And so that's how we go through that list. We're going slowly from 250 to 1. And right now we're at what number, Denny?
144, which is the 2015 movie Star Wars, Force Awakens. The synopsis is, 3 decades after the Empire's defeat, a new threat arises. I'm not going to describe it. Everyone's seen Star Wars, right? Directed by J.J. Abrams. But yeah, Andy.
Yeah.
I read a review, and I want to know, well, first of all, I guess talk about your review, but I want to know if it still stands, if you still think this movie...
That's really impressive. Those listening don't know. That's 3,000 words plus is that review. I got a little wordy, but it absolutely stands. I love this movie. To me, it is, for what it is, a perfect movie. Now, that I don't mean that in the sense of like it's my favorite movie of all time, but for what it is, the first Star Wars, to come out in a long time, it's the direct sequel to, Return of the Jedi, these older films. What it did to me is perfect. So very much so, my review stands.
So this and the review you're referring to, we'll put a link up on our Twitter feed as well. I think we can include a link in the podcast description if we want.
Yeah.
You have a this full on review up there that's still sitting up there for everyone to see about, which is this very lengthy and very nice glowing review of the whole.
Not
movie.
for those who dislike these movies.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little harsh. Yes, on those, which maybe some people hear. So this will be fun. I'll give a little summary for those who don't want to read 3,000 words. Here's my basic take on this movie. I love that this movie goes back to sort of the classic storytelling in the original trilogy of movies. I think it's a very simple plot that doesn't get convoluted. There's no talk of trade federation or taxes or senates. It's very simple, right? The plot of this movie is people want to find Luke because he disappeared. There's a map. So everyone's looking for the map. Like all this other ancillary stuff, even the Starkiller base, is all based around trying to find Luke.
Yeah,
and that's you're shitting on the prequels,
up, yada yada yada.
Yeah, all that, whatever. They're all trying to find Luke, and so I love that. I love that. That's very simple. I think that's better for kids. I think it's better for the adults who remember watching it as kids. And on a very personal level, this was probably the best sort of going to the movie viewing experience I've had, just because of all the hype that surrounded it and how I felt like it really paid it off. I think all the new characters are incredibly interesting and new and fresh. The two primaries that I love, Rey and Ren, I think are just really, and we can talk about this more detailed, obviously. I think they're very interesting. I think the return of the classic characters, especially Han, is super fun and well executed. And it has a lot of really great moments that I still, to this day, literally today I watched it again, love and get, sort of those really, fun Star Wars feels watching them. So I had a good time. I really love this movie.
Nice.
And the original, were you a huge fan of the original, I assume, the original trilogy?
Yes.
In a big way? Yeah.
I was not alive when they came out, but I did grow up watching them. My dad was definitely a fan and showed them to me as soon as I could. Actually, probably before I could really understand them.
Sure.
But yeah, I loved the original ones. The prequels,
before the special features? Special editions, rather?
Oh, yeah, we had the original VHSs, and I will go to bat to those all day.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, good for you, yes.
Yeah.
So much better. Han shot first for me from the beginning.
Yes.
So I'm still on team Han shot first for sure. And the prequels, I think they're mostly missed, but they have some cool stuff. The soundtrack was nice. I thought episode 3 was fine. I don't have hate towards them that a lot of Star Wars fans have, but they didn't really energize me. You know what I mean? They're okay. They're fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Hey, so going to TC now. TC has never seen any of these movies.
I knew that was coming back.
Yeah. And,
well, you've never seen a Star Wars movie, right? Ever.
You've never seen ever?
Ever.
Not
Any.
even the originals?
No, I have zero interest.
This is actually going to be a confusing podcast for you because they're all out of order on this list.
Well, and the funny thing is I've already seen the one that we're talking about right now. Apparently, I had seen this one, and I didn't even know. That's how little I like this stuff. I didn't even remember the fucking movie's name. I was like, wait.
How did you go to it? What circumstances?
Honestly, I'm assuming it must have been on either Netflix or something else, and was just like, hey, I'm stoned. I'll watch this, see what it's like. Keep hearing about Star Wars.
Yeah, it's a Star Wars thing. There it is.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. Yeah, it was right when that huge beast, is drinking the water out of the fountain and he knocks over whatever his name is. I was like, shit, I've seen this one. I was like, God damn it. It's I was annoyed that I'd already seen it. So I was like, all right, here I am going to watch some Star Wars. had no clue that this was the one I had already seen.
I love the TC moment of, God, I've seen this one.
Son of a bitch. Yeah. Like,
I also love that moment is the moment that you remembered you, because a lot has happened, a lot of shit blown up, and then just all of a sudden this one creature knocking him over at the watering hole.
And that was it. And I was like, oh, I've seen this one.
Nice.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So what do you think, TC? Come on. Yeah. Did you like it?
It's indifferent. I mean, I thought
that's impossible.
The CG stuff looked fucking great.
You're gonna say that's impossible, like the way that Luke did in Empire Strikes Back.
I think the production. Yeah, the production value. Not true. Production value is through the roof.
Yeah,
of course.
Acting was good.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't get into the space shit. I don't know what it is, dude. I don't have a sci-fi in me.
But you do. You
not
generally,
really though.
When we look at your top movies, when you picked last movies, I mean, you picked a lot of sci-fi stuff, like 12 Monkeys.
But that's sci-fi.
Stuff.
That's not fantasy. This is really kind of fantasy.
It is more fantasy. I mean, it's definitely sci-fi, unquestionably, because there's space and spaceships, right? But but it also is a very you like the dark stuff too, but you like the science fiction. But
when you have no soul, this is such soulful shit. I don't know. No, I mean, I didn't dislike it. I watched it thoroughly and it was, pretty much engaged the entire time. So I have nothing bad to say about this.
Yeah.
And
it's not intellectual. Is what it's 12 Monkeys is like an intellectual trip. So if you like that science fiction, Star Wars ain't your thing.
Well, right, and I don't know. I think it's also just a problem of mine because I've already decided in my head that I don't like these things. I'm having trouble.
Stated.
I'm having trouble, getting past it because I've already decided, and it's just
what made you decide that you do not like
nerds?
Them?
It's for nerds, John. It's for nerds.
Wait, I really appreciate you admitting to this bias right up front. I think that's
TC was a cool skateboarder when he was in his young teens, man. He had no time for nerds.
Yeah, but in your own words, TC, what is it that made you decide to not like it?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's just all the hype that surrounds it of all time. And as I didn't see it, and all I saw is the hype, and then people talking about it at parties and you just sit thinking to yourself, wow, these people love this shit. I've never even seen it and I don't even care. And now it's blossomed into, no, I don't care on purpose. Fuck this movie. And it's gotten worse because I'm getting to I'm the old man with get off my lawn, you fucking kids. Right. It's I don't know. I mean, honestly, I didn't dislike it by any means. And to tell you the truth, I was sitting there watching it all right, I mean, I'm not hating this. So I guess if I watch the rest of them, maybe it'll all make more sense. Because don't forget, I don't really know any of these characters. I was asking my roommates, I'm like, so who are these guys? Who are these guys?
Yeah.
I don't even know these guys. I'm looking them up and we could be oh, those are so they're the, okay. Okay. There's a little period of time where I had to catch up to who the people are. So I'm not enveloped in it, immediately the fans are, So maybe if I, watch the rest of them, which I'm sure I will, now that we're doing this.
You'll have to.
I will, I mean, maybe I'll have a change of heart once I've seen them all and understand the whole story. But for now, it's really, like you said, it's out of order. It's disjointed. It's hard to go to the one-off and then be oh, I know all about this because I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll work it out. Denny has a plan, I think, when we get up to the top, with both with all three, actually, Lord of the Rings, Godfather, and Star Wars, we've got this problem.
Well, the third one isn't on the list. The third Godfather is not.
Oh, well, that's fine, probably.
That's a good decision.
That's all right.
I respect IMDb a lot more.
Yeah. So
and also, Indiana Jones, the first and third one are on the list, but the second one, Temple of Doom, is not. So.
Oh, really? Well done, IMDb.
Yeah. They sometimes know what they're talking about, but sometimes.
I don't think that would necessarily matter as much with Indiana Jones, although. Yeah, we'll have to talk about our strategy for that one when we get to it. But
those aren't as linear in terms of
So TC though, I not as bad as I thought you would. You liked it more than I thought you would.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've already seen it too, and I still don't remember shit. So I don't I think that says it all of how much I liked it. But
yeah, well, and you can certainly.
I'm not coming in hot with a negativity.
No. I'm disappointed, man. I thought you were gonna have another Avengers where you come and be I really like this one. I don't know why.
Oh, that's true too.
You were thinking it was gonna go the other way.
I thought so. Yeah. I was hopeful. Yep.
I was on the other side. No, I mean, you certainly can appreciate the audio and the visual effects.
Some of the fucking the effects were sounded so fucking good.
Yeah.
So well rounded, especially all the bullets and then the whatever they call those things.
Laser beams.
There you go.
The lightsabers.
Yeah, the sabers. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that shit sounded fucking badass. And I had my system way up, like you said, Denny.
Yeah, good.
And it was, like the dynamics were really great. Again, the production value is through the roof on this. There's no doubt about it. Very believable worlds. It was cool. And I liked, the acting was pretty decent, even though they're like the people that were really good, I don't even recognize them really, besides the one guy that's really popular after this movie. But the girl was great, I thought.
She was.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She moves around the screen like a motherfucker.
Lots of cardio training in this movie.
I have nothing bad to say, but it's I'm not a rabid fan, so it doesn't hit me like the same as the rest.
Yeah, and this one is really tailored to fans, So,
right.
Yeah.
But John, sounds like you liked it as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I think that I've always had a love for science fiction, and I think it's probably Star Wars that kind of kicked it off for me. So I was like I was born in 73, so I was like 5 or 6 when, because Star Wars was 79, right? I think
77.
77.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hitting when I was sort of almost old. And I remember being terrified by The Empire Strikes Back. Because Luke got his hand cut off, man.
Did you see these in theaters, or how did you see them?
I think I saw Empire Strikes Back in theaters with my dad.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Jealous of that.
I know.
Also, you're old, man.
I can't fault him. I know. I'm an old man. I'm the old man of the group. That's
we knew
established.
I'm getting there, that. John. Don't worry.
Yeah, but we go over an hour and I get cranky and sleepy. We can revisit this as usual.
It's going to happen.
So I think Star Wars has a special place for me as well. I think it probably is what kicked off my love of science fiction, or it's like the first sort of science fiction that I experienced. So it always is as a special place, and I think Andy's right, in a sense that this is sort of an homage, or it's kind of, it hits some of the same points of the first movie, and some people might argue it does it in a way that's repetitive and annoying, but I kind of think it's good because of that. I can nitpick and be kind of annoyed, that 6 planets got blown up, and people are like, let's move on.
That's not how anyone reacted to that.
I didn't see reactions to it hardly. It's I just sort of was in there. Alderaan gets blown up. 1 planet gets blown up at the first Star Wars, and it's a big deal. 6 planets get blown up in this one, and it doesn't seem...
It's the same level of big deal. They have to go and destroy the thing. I don't understand where you're coming from. They put all the resources into
moments, it. I don't know. There's I don't know. There's this, you don't necessarily see this people experiencing or even talking about this loss of 6 planets.
I can see that, but I also, the one thing this movie does that Alderaan doesn't do in the originals is there's those 3 shots where you actually see the people that are about to be eviscerated.
Right. That's
which is pretty strong. Today I was watching it and I was like, man, for a little kid, that's pretty harsh that you're seeing these people, this nice environment, and they just get eviscerated.
Right. That's a fair point too. In Alderaan, you don't see anything on the planet side of it. You just see them flying into the debris. And you see the Obi-Wan scene of people crying out.
Which is also rough. I'm not arguing against the originals, but I did notice that time around when I was watching today that, wow, they actually show these people.
They show the plans. They just don't show much of a reaction from anybody else. But they're moving on. They got to do other things.
Because no one had family there, right? Who cares?
Yeah, I got criticisms, I guess. But I think there's also some things that are done. R2-D2 is just a wonderful, incredible character in the first films, or the first series of films, and to sort of the goal they set out for themselves is we're going to top this. We're going to do something. We're going to develop a little droid that's equally as charismatic, if not better, than R2.
Oh man,
and they do it, and that's with BB-8 with the little orange ball. It's fantastic that they pull that. That alone is an amazing feat to come up with. To know that they've got R2 and they're like, all right, we're going to come up with a droid that's equally as charismatic or better. And they do it. And that, I think, is absolutely fantastic.
I would have sold the thing. Give me the food.
Give me the 60 portions, man.
Give me the 60 portions. I'm done with this. Yeah.
The guy who she could have sold it to, do you know who that actor was?
Simon Pegg.
It was Simon Pegg, yeah.
Get out of here.
We don't know. And did you know that Simon Pegg is credited with saving this movie and the Star Wars franchise?
No.
Why?
I will tell you. So he did this interview.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, he did this interview for the Sirius XM show where he sat down with like Ron Bennington, basically. It's this hour-long, it's called Sirius XM Unmasked. He did this hour-long interview. And he sat down where he's kind of good buddies with Abrams because Simon Pegg, unlike just about any other actor, I think, he's got Star Trek with Abrams, but also Mission Impossible, and now he's in Star Wars. I mean, this is kind of and he's got his own movies which are fantastic, like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. But he's kind of good buddies with Abrams, having been on Star Trek, and he had sat down with his daughter who had watched the films with her for the first time, and she watched Empire Strikes Back, and when she saw Yoda, she turned to him and said, "Yoda's real." Because of the it wasn't a digital effect. It was like an actual animatronic, and it was a puppet. And Peg first was like, "Oh, you're really my daughter," but then he also went and took that to Abrams and said, "Look, you need to not go digital when you can. And you need to not use practical, real effects. Don't use the digital effects." And supposedly Abrams took it to heart. And then one of the puppeteers came up to Simon Pegg when he was on set later and said, "You're the guy that saved Star Wars." Because they took that to heart in terms of bringing in real physical stuff and not bringing animations, to the extent that like BB-8 was an actual physical object. Like they built BB-8. BB-8 was real in all of those scenes. He was actually like a robot that they built. So yeah, that's the story of Simon Pegg's in this story.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think I agree with Andy's point too, and also what TC brought up, that the characters are awesome. It's great to see such a strong female lead that's just naturally there. It's not like, oh, look, it's a woman. Isn't this amazing that it's a woman?
Great.
She's just there, and she's spectacular. But also all the supporting cast is great. And Adam Driver is an amazing choice for Kylo Ren, for the bad guy. He was, I don't know if I'd seen him in the HBO series Girls before this. And he really stood out in that show. And it's just a comedy show, but he was amazingly funny in that show. He really stood out. And so it was really somebody did an impressive job of casting him in this sort of complex role where you have to see him as a bad guy, but a bad guy who is completely sort of like barely on the edge of control with his emotions. So to do that and to have him still be scary, but not seem wimpy, too like sissy almost, or no, that's not the right word to use these days. But to just sort of like not scary, sort of
he
like
has to be menacing.
Yeah,
he has to be menacing, but at the same time not mature.
Right, exactly. There you go. So that's exactly what they try to pull off, and I think that's a really cool, like a really good take on a bad guy, where he's like immature, but he's also still frightening. Do
you know who the original ideas for who that would be cast as?
No. What, Leo DiCaprio?
No, Fassbender and Hugo Weaving.
Fassbender, really? I don't know about that.
I don't think
those
that
are both
very,
very old choices.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I think he wants someone young for this, right? Or someone young looking.
Yeah, he seemed young. He does that act well.
You
being
want
like
that
the spoiled brat.
Right. Because that's kind of what's going on.
Until he takes his shirt off in The Last Jedi, right? Am I right, guys?
Am I right? Am I right?
That wide chest.
Oh man, he's bulked. We need to talk about The Last Jedi later if you want. So
spoiler for TC. Yeah,
I think like the return of Harrison Ford is great. That's really a big nostalgia trip. I think the scene where he dies is amazing, and he's willing to do whatever his son needs to do for him. I mean, he's just willing to be there for his son. Not that he's well aware that his son's going to kill him.
Yeah.
But just the expression on his face as he's like, "What do you want me to do? I'll do anything." And he means it, and his son knows that he means it. And I thought that was really effective. I
think the coolest part about that scene is that I saw it in a Lego rendition on YouTube later on. And it was Legos acting out the scene.
Nice.
And like they'd cut away from the it was actually really funny. I was like, man, this is almost better than the scene. This is hilarious.
Did you watch that before or after watching the movie?
After.
Okay.
Was that from one of like the Lego? Was that from one of the games, or was that like?
Yeah, it's like the Lego look. Yeah, it's just like looks like a video game. Yeah,
it
they had like done a rendition of the scene in all Lego characters.
Nice.
It was pretty awesome.
So that's I think that's generally my take on it. I think that there were side characters that were great, like the strange sort of like lady that gives Rey the lightsaber and owns the cantina.
Yeah, Maz Kanata.
Yeah, I thought Maz was a great character and just kind of a side character there, but I thought she was also really interesting. Mm-hmm. And just again, great production. So yeah, I really enjoyed the film, and it was when it came out, I was so happy because after the prequels, which again, I didn't hate, but I just felt like that was what bothered me was it just like that felt like the wrong direction, like there was nowhere to go with those movies. It was like they were half made for kids, except for the third one, which was darker, but it was still badly written. Like it was just not given. It was not given like the thought and care in terms of especially the script that you'd like to see a Star Wars movie given, and so those were just sad in that sense. It was
didn't hate them; they made me sad though.
Exactly, and so that when The Force Awakens came out, it just felt like all right, this is even though I didn't necessarily think it, I wouldn't go Andy's direction and call it perfect or feel like it was the perfect response, but I still was so happy to see it move in this direction. And then Rogue One was also really great after that. Like that one was fantastic, I thought, and so it just was like I was just so happy to see like Star Wars like heading in this direction now, which was where the people who were making it were taking it very seriously and working very hard to like make it quality, and that made me very happy.
Just sell your shit to Disney, man. They'll make it good.
Yeah. But think of it. I still can't, I'll still end with this. Like BB-8, like they did it. They made a droid that was just as awesome as R2, if not better. That's into story right there for me.
There's only a couple lines from C-3PO. That was awesome. Hate that robot.
Yeah.
That robot is so annoying.
Although BB-8 apparently is a Christopher Walken fan because he says wow just like Christopher Walken would say it.
Which is?
Wow.
Wow.
But Disney would do it better.
That was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. Christopher Walken in here in this phone call. Wow.
Fuck all of you.
All right.
Yes.
All right,
Denny, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll go as far. You said this movie started your love of sci-fi, and I'm sure you'll agree with this too, but this movie was like started my love for movies.
Oh, wow. Whoa.
I mean, what else is there? It's like this and Indiana Jones, and that's it. Like those are the movies you're allowed to watch that you're not supposed to watch when you're 4, but you do anyway because your parents are like, they got to see these, man. These are good freaking movies. And then this one has, I don't know. Was there any violent parts in The New Hope? I don't really think so. People die all the time, but there's nothing too bad.
It doesn't feel,
I was always most scared of the sand people. I remember.
That was like Obi-Wan definitely, he doesn't just, you don't see him die, but he's gone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shocker. Although you get to see his ghost right afterwards, so it doesn't hurt so bad, I guess.
Maybe. But the sand people, Andy, those are...
yeah, that terrified me as a kid. I don't know why. They don't really do anything. I think the most they do is knock Luke out.
No, but you had that and they do that roar thing, which is like terrifying.
Yep, that is terrifying.
But I am in the camp of hating the prequels, I guess. I saw them all in the theater. I left pissed. I saw the next one in the theater. I left pissed. And the third one, I was like, that one was better. But what the fuck, George Lucas? How do you do the first one and then not, like, you ruined it? I mean, you can kind of...
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, but those movies were like the first movies to ever shot entirely on digital film, which I think is part of the problem because they probably had like digital cameras.
Digital.
Yeah. So there was probably like a lot of technical issues to deal with and not like you weren't able to focus on a lot of other things, and they overused CG in those movies, and I don't know. There's just so many... If those movies weren't Star Wars, no one would talk about them. They would they would have gone away. I think. I could be wrong.
You're probably right.
Opinion. Yeah.
Well, they sort of have almost kind of gone away anyway. I don't
know if you go on Reddit. There's a whole subreddit for people who love the prequels.
Oh, well, but just in terms of like camp though, as like in terms of how bad they are.
They're more often a joke than considered as like good movies.
Right.
Okay. I'm not savvy enough to know if those Redditors are being sarcastic or if they really love weird things. Hard to tell. I didn't, and so Andy mentioned the going to the movies. I would agree. This is like one of the best movie going experiences ever. It reminded me of like the only thing I would equate it to is I think all of us were lucky enough to go see Lord of the Rings, TC excluded, in the theaters because they came out when we were alive. And that was amazing. and going to see this in the theater is what I would imagine going to see one of the original ones would be. Like people were cheering at the screen, like absolutely nuts. People were like in tears at certain points. It was awesome.
Jesus.
Yeah. People love these movies, man. Like these are the top. I mean, this is the third highest grossing movie of all time.
I mean, I really would. I'd rather see them in the theater because.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw it 4 times in the theater, once in 3D, and it was the best 3D I've ever seen in the theater.
Damn.
Yeah. I didn't like Maz, you guys. There's so much regular stuff that Maz threw me off. Total CG character.
I'm kind of neutral on her. I didn't like her in The Last Jedi, so now sort of in retrospect, maybe I'm a little bit more negative on her than necessary. In this movie, I think she's kind of like, whatever. She's this mysterious person who happens to have Luke's lightsaber. But yeah, I can get where she's not your favorite.
Yeah.
I liked Maz. I thought she was very soothing. I don't know.
Very soothing.
She's a Wookiee lover.
It's interesting.
Something about those craters for her eyes, man. Jeez, you can just get lost.
I've had to have one other complaint. I mean, in Star Wars, you've got Darth Maul, you've got Darth Vader, you've got, General Grievous. All right, maybe that's a little over the top. But here, the bad guy is Snokes. I mean,
Snoke.
He might as well be Snoopy.
Isn't it Snoke? Just no S?
Snoke.
It's just
there's no S.
Sorry, it's Snoke. But Snoke, it's like, it sounds wimpy, man. Come on.
What about Chewie, dude? There's a guy named Chewie in this movie.
Yeah, but Chewbacca, it's short for Chewie. Chewie is short for Chewbacca, that sounds like fine. It's like a nickname.
Maybe Snoke is short for like Snoke Neelius or something.
If we call him Snooky, would that make it better?
I was going to say, maybe that's what it's for. Maybe it's short for Snooky. It's really just that crazy one under there.
Yeah. It's like, watch out for Snoke. What? Coke? Yeah. What? Who? What? I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Just
what about Phasma? The silver armored person? Phasma's kind of a weird name too.
Yeah, it is weird. But again,
she's just underused in the whole thing. I feel like she's just kind of there.
Yeah. She's kind of like the Boba Fett character. It's like, I want to see more of that character, and then they go away,
fall into a pit. Yeah. Literally, actually, they both have the same fate.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you there, Denny. Go on.
Yeah, I do have issues, kind of, and I know they're going for it, like in terms of repeating what they do in the original trilogy, in terms of like not only like plot points, but like emotional beats. The score is obviously the same, which I'm not complaining about because I think this is one of the best scores of all time, easily.
Yeah, I think it like defines movie scores almost.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And even like with Indiana Jones, you have like the one theme song. With Jaws and Jurassic Park, you have like the one theme song. And like the rest of those scores are great. But in Star Wars, you get like every character gets their own theme song. And then like on top of that, you have like the introductory and like exit, like Star Wars.
And they're all like iconic.
Yeah,
like
they're all
every
amazing.
single one of those is like, fair enough.
So yeah, it's like impossible for me to not love this movie, I guess. I don't know. I wish there was a way to see, because I'm sure, like, have you guys ever tried to think, like, if you weren't raised with these movies, would you like them as much?
Right. TC?
I think you know the answer to that.
But you haven't seen them all the way through and stuff.
No, I know.
Right.
And I think it's just like the Marvel shit. I'm sure if as I watch them, I might have more,
We'll have to see
them.
when we get up to like starting with Star Wars, and we'll see if we can cultivate the love of them for you, and then we'll revisit The Last Jedi, or rather The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I think we're going to end up pissing TC off trying to get him to watch the right one, because there's so many versions of the original ones out right now.
Oh, really?
We need to figure out if we can find the theatrical release, if possible.
They have, people illegally, I guess, have taken the original cut and then remastered it themselves, so you can get like a pretty high definition original cut on the internet.
I forget the name of it, but there's something floating out there where they take the remastered that they did a couple years ago, but then stripped out all the like new effects that Lucas put in there, and the like weird jazz scene and stuff that he threw in,
and the new ending for Return of the Jedi.
Yep. Yeah.
So TC, like George Lucas took these films, I don't know if you know this, and he remade them. He wanted to improve them with new special effects and new scenes,
because
and it was
he's
all
an idiot.
Bad.
Yeah, why? Let it be. What are you doing in this shit, right?
I don't know, but it really was bad. All of it. I mean, some of the new effects were kind of cool, I guess, but the new scenes were terrible.
That's a bummer.
And you literally cannot buy the original ones. You haven't been able to buy the original ones since like 97 or something like that.
Can't find them.
They don't exist. They never printed them. Like, you can only get the George Lucas fucked up ones.
That's he is
ridiculous.
Vehement on this. Like, he has it in the sell to Disney's. Like, now Disney owns LucasArts. He specifically said they could never release the original cuts of the movies because I guess he just really believes in the new ones, but that's crazy.
Or it's like, it's like a band when they make a demo and then like their first record comes out and that's the one that hits. And then they're like, I don't ever want to hear that demo again.
Yes, fair enough. Because they like redo their album. And they're like,
yeah, right. So they redo the demo
Yeah.
and then like get the new album and they're like, that's it. That's
But what if
first
like
one.
every single person on the planet was like, we want the demo, damn it, give us the demo.
Right.
And you're like, nope,
Yeah,
I know better
I
than you.
am the creator.
Yeah.
I own my art. I decide what you hear.
It's like the Beatles went back to the White Album and just like made it all dubstep, and no one could ever listen to the originals ever again. Like,
imagine that. That would be that's a good analogy. Now I'm pissed. That makes no sense.
And then imagine if everybody, all the Beatles were behind it and it was just like super confusing. Like, how could you make the White Album and fuck it up and think it's good?
Paul McCartney's all over there like, wait till the breakdown, right to the breakdown. It's like, imagine all the people,
That one already kind of has a drop. You could probably transition that into dubstep.
You could, yeah.
Imagine. What? Oh, no, he went dark too. He like get deep.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's crazy. I cannot believe that he went back and said that no one could ever see those originals.
So is that
Even
real?
for a
How does
guy
that
like
work?
me, like I'd want to see the originals.
Yeah.
No, so I know how to get them. We'll get the originals. And
Okay, there's a guy. Someone's got a guy.
There's a guy.
That sounded
His
so
name is the
shady.
internet.
Yeah, it sounds so
I know
shitty.
how to
Hey, don't
get
you worry. It'll get 2 a.m. We'll go take a walk. We'll go find this guy.
So Andy, do you know like specifically what that contract said? Because that's a weird contract.
I thought you were going to ask, like, do you know, like, really where to go? Like, what website?
PirateBay.com/what?
We'll talk
So,
later.
like, what torrent site do you use, Andy? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk on the Skype chat.
yeah, take us offline.
No, so part of the sale, this, I haven't, like, read the contract or anything, like, I'm going to do that. But the word is that part of the deal with Disney is that none of the existing Star Wars properties can be changed at all. So like the actual movies as they were when George Lucas sold them to Disney cannot be re-edited or whatever, because of this sale. So, I mean, part of it, I understand that he wants to preserve his work, but I think also he's sort of doubling down on some terrible choices.
Yeah. God damn it, George Lucas. Well, when he dies, do we get the movies?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure maybe in 50 years they'll do something, but
yeah, that's a bummer.
I don't know.
What was I going to say about the repeating things? It kind of is distracting at the very least. It knows I already love these things and it gives them to me and I love them. And I feel like that's cheating in a way,
Yeah.
Like if they remade, like they kind of did this with like the new Blade Runner and it was more different, but they took what I already loved and they just did the exact same thing.
Right, they hit some of the same notes, or like sort of like. Actually, that's a really good comparison in some ways. Like they sort of like
Blade Runner is definitely more different than the original.
Yeah,
Blade Runner.
I agree, but it's still a good comparison in that it hits some of the same notes, and you're sort of happy for that, but then also like it's like a mixed feeling when that happens. You're like, I don't know.
And then where's the line? Because like you're watching these because you like this type of thing, but like how much of the same do you want, and how much different do you want? It seems like this really edged on the safe side of like, well, will be very much the same as A New Hope and the other ones. So I don't know.
I do wonder if did we need the Star Killer plot part of it? I mean, would it have been enough just to have the confrontation between Kylo Ren and Solo and Rey? I mean, I feel like it would have been enough. I don't know if you needed the whole Star Killer base on top of it. I mean,
just have it be a rescue mission and not like a kill the planet mission as well.
Yeah, or kill the planet killer mission.
Then you wouldn't have had all the A New Hope scenes in there when they're flying around the Death Star.
Right, where they have the little trench run sort of, and they it's all there. Yeah, I don't know.
You wouldn't have brought the fish man back in. Everyone likes the fish guy.
Yeah.
What's his name? The guy who stands by the hologram in the home base area.
The
Admiral
Calamari guy.
Akbar.
There you go.
Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
It's a trap.
Yeah. Everyone likes him, Mr. Fish. Yeah, he's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Star Killer Base, and I say this in my thing, like I can understand people having some trouble with that. Its main plot device, I think, is to kind of destroy like the New Republic or whatever. I think that's probably why they made it, is so it can kind of get rid of any sort of backing that the Resistance could have. And, it just gives you that cool star battle at the end. Like you're saying, like it gives you, the X-Wings. Everyone wants to see X-Wings and Poe Dameron.
Yeah, you get this. That's a good point, Danny. I mean, like, especially like with the Last Jedi, you see the rebels are now really on their own. Like, they're really a small group now at the end of that because all their planets are gone. So, so maybe, part of it is just setting up the premise, which this film feels like that as well. It's like here, and Abrams did the same thing with Star Trek. It's like when he rebooted that, this feels like, all right, here we've got all the pieces in place now. Now we're going to go with this for a while, and it's this whole like everything's set and anchored into place in terms of the direction it's going to go. And I appreciate that a lot because I think that at least that was the other thing I got from this movie. It's like, all right, this is where we're going now, and I really am happy with it. I think this is great. I'm really excited to see what happens next.
My hot take, real quick, this is going backwards a little bit. I thought Blade Runner 2049 was better than the original Blade Runner.
I might agree with you on that one. It's certainly at least equal. Well, the hard thing is like it's not as original, right? The original Blade Runner was more original.
That's the hard part of it, I think. Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. Maybe we'll have you back for that one. We're going to be doing that soon.
Is that can't be on the list, can it?
Oh yeah, Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner.
Oh, the original Blade Runner. I was thinking 2049 came out.
Actually, it is on the list, but it's after we froze the list, so we won't watch it for this podcast.
That makes sense.
But I will watch both for the Blade Runner podcast because they're like the best movies. Why not?
It makes for. Well, we could argue ourselves into doing a podcast on that one. I would be happy to do a podcast on the second one.
You've already convinced me.
I'm a massive at this point anyways.
We've done special episodes when we want. I think it would be great to do a special episode on the second Blade Runner.
Yes.
So,
agreed.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Sweet.
I have to see the first one first, right? I don't think I've seen the first one.
Yeah, you will. Yes. And you'll have to see the right cut, too.
Yeah.
Which cut do you see? That's a whole different
conversation.
You see the final cut?
Okay.
Yeah, there's,
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's interesting. Unlike Star Wars, with Blade Runner, you actually want to see the
most recent
the later
one.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the studio fucked with it way too much back when it originally came out.
Fucking studio,
Goddamn studio.
Those suits, they don't know shit.
Well, arguably, though, they might have, I don't know exactly what led Star Wars to be what it was, but certainly there were other people besides Lucas making decisions early on.
That's obvious. Because when he was given full control, look what he did.
It went
a bunch
nuts.
of toys.
Yeah.
Studios suck, except with Star Wars. They did a good job.
Yes, good job, studios.
In line.
Yeah, fucking whatever. I don't know where I'm going.
So it looks like they might. It's rumored that 21st Century Fox, which had the rights to all of the original Star Wars, might have sold those rights to Disney in 2017.
Right, just recently. So there's some hope there. There's a new hope, if you will.
Boom.
Wow.
Boom.
For that, you get 1/4 portion.
You get 1/4 portion.
Well,
this is the goal of the podcast, just to crush John's spirits until he gets tired and falls asleep.
Yeah, and I'll get grouchy, and then I get accused of being a grouchy old man.
Right.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
But Andy, so saying a movie is perfect is only as valid as how you consider other movies in terms of, like, what other movies to you are perfect? Like, how hard is it to be considered perfect?
Andy wasn't saying that the movie itself was perfect. He was saying the experience of it was perfect, right? So
I would
the
say,
movie is the experience.
Isn't that hand in hand? Yeah.
Here's how I would describe this. I would say for what it was perfect. In the sense of all the baggage of the prequels being crap for the most part, and the older movies being so loved by, multiple generations. They had to, at one side of things, have that same sort of flavor as the originals without feeling like the prequels. So that was a whole can of worms as far as the look, the production, the feel, as we talked about, making more practical effects than CGI. But also, of course, you got to use CGI because it makes movies look good if you do it well. But they also had to have new and interesting characters, but also that resonated with the old guys. So they were playing with so much, I think, potentially explosive disasters.
Yeah, not just fire, like fused and lit TNT, pretty much.
Exactly. Like, how many fanboys are ready to hate this? And despite, like, some people, like, not loving it, I don't think this movie is really hated by anybody. And I think that is the sense of what Lawrence Kasdan, the writer, and J.J. Abrams, director and writer, did to sort of make it feel and resonate both in look and feel with the Star Wars movie, and yet infusing enough life into it with new things that really pushed it forward. So in that sense, I think it is definitely a perfect movie. Again, I don't think, it's not like my favorite movie of all time. It's not even my favorite Star Wars movie. I would say actually it's probably my third or fourth favorite Star Wars movie. My favorite is still Empire Strikes Back, side note. But I think for what it was, where it fell in sort of the timeline, it was fantastic.
Can't argue with that.
That's well put.
Well said.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's too bad, because I had this whole list of things that were poking holes in this movie. We can go through them anyway. You guys want to talk about parts
I
of
say
Star
we
Wars?
go through that
That
anyway.
away.
Don't
Let's
make
do it.
sense. Why in all the Star Wars movies do robots beep and boop and then humans turn and speak English and they can just hear each other? Why don't they speak the same
I don't
language?
understand that. I was thinking the same thing. What's
Right.
going on? How does she understand that little fucker? I
Yeah.
don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense.
Chewie's
I
mad.
think it's.
At what
Did
point
you
is
guys
the
see
class-
Solo?
Yeah,
Not
no.
yet, no.
Oh, do they
Oh.
explain it there somehow?
No, they don't explain it. It's terrible. Don't see it. It is it's worse than the prequels. Oh, maybe I should. I'm now priming
really?
the audience. Maybe I shouldn't do that. It's awful.
Wow.
But there is a scene where young Han Solo actually speaks like Wookiee to Chewbacca, and he literally does like. It's awful.
I'm never
God.
going to see that because of that description. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, thanks, Andy, for saving me from that.
Yeah, I just saved you 2 hours for sure.
Oh, thank God.
I'm probably still gonna watch it.
I
At
think
least I'll be warned. Maybe I'll it'll be good because the hype will be really low.
No, I think it's what it is now, because I read a few very recent reviews on it. People being like, Solo's not as bad as everyone said it was. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not. Maybe I'll watch it sometime. But now it's on the do not
now
watch
we
list
know
again. Yeah.
it's awful. Yeah. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
This has been great.
You can understand that they don't have vocal cords for it or whatever, but the robots, you certainly can build. Obviously, like with C3PO, you already know they can build in speech. So why don't they?
Well, true. For sure. That makes, what the fuck?
And also, who has time in school? Like, where did Rey learn how to speak BB-8? She lives in a fucking planet by
I couldn't
herself.
barely learn fucking Spanish, let alone the fucking boopy boop 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 boop. I'd be like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. Is that a comma? I don't know what the fuck are you guys doing?
But I would say that this is not having anything to do with something that's consistent or real seeming within the universe. It certainly adds a lot of character to those droids. It just sort of like in some way makes them more endearing because of the way they speak.
It makes them more dog-like, really, right? It makes them more pet-like.
Yeah. So I think that sort of like then lends them to like, whereas C3PO is not nearly as liked as say R2 or BB-8. And
That's because he's a wet blanket. It's not because of how he talks.
Yeah, there's that too. But I think Andy's point is like, these droids are kind of like the ones that beep and boop are kind of like faithful dogs. They're friends. Like that. They're like very these loyal pets almost. Yeah.
They are little
And
friends.
Star Wars definitely does play fast and loose with the idea of language. Because like even Han Solo, like when they're, on the, whatever, and the Conja Club comes and they're speaking some other language and he understands them obviously and then speaks back to them in English and they understand him in English. It's like, guys, pick a language. And then the other guys, they do that a lot.
But
There's
then
no
some people
explanation
don't
for it.
understand the Wookiee, and like Han has to translate. So it's not just like every human can understand all the languages. Like you had to have taken classes or whatever to understand these languages.
Yeah.
The people that
And for some reason, Rey knows all the languages in this movie.
I know.
She knows. In this movie, I think there's like 5 she either speaks or understands.
Does she understand Chewbacca?
Yeah, because Chewbacca
but
yells
she has
at
the
her
Force.
and she
Maybe
responds.
she could just understand the meaning through her mind.
Oh, there you go. It's the Force. There you go. Good call, Denny.
Because there is that scene.
That's not how the Force works.
Is it not? Because the rules of the Force are also fast and loose sometimes.
No, that
especially-
was just me quoting Han Solo. I don't really know. Sure.
Okay.
Whatever.
Because even The Last Jedi, where freaking Leia can like survive without a helmet on, you're like, the Force can also be a spacesuit. All right.
I guess so. Yeah.
The dumbest part of that
one seemed a
movie.
little far-fetched.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I thought, she's dead. Oh, wait, no, she's not. That makes no sense.
But so it might just be her understanding, because when she gets off the ship after Han Solo dies, Leia had never ever seen Rey before or met her, or she heard about her, but she never saw her. But as soon as Rey got off the ship, without saying anything, they hug each other.
Right. And Chewbacca passes her right by.
Yeah, which is stupid because like
Chewie, who should her and Chewie should share a moment, you'd think immediately.
Because Chewie is Han's best friend forever.
I agree with that. That is a missed moment. I agree.
And he just walks right by her. She doesn't look at him. He doesn't like go for the hug. They just walk by each other. Like it's pretty weird.
I thought so, yeah.
Maybe it's a Wookiee culture thing.
Oh, there you go.
Or she forgot how to speak. That's my
lame fanboy try to cover up for that.
Like they don't wish to acknowledge death immediately. There you go.
Or that like Han, since it was probably Leia that broke it off, but it was like him and Chewie in the spaceship, and Han was lying. He's like, "Oh, dude, she was a friggin' awful woman, man."
No. You can kind of
talking shit.
He's annoyed with Han about the whole thing, even when he's back with Leia. Chewie seems to be like apologetic when he comes back to meet her the first time when Han's there with Leia.
That is
I
true.
think Chewie's like, "Hey, sorry, he's a dick."
Yeah. When Flynn captures Finn, not Flynn. God damn it. Sorry,
Wait
guys.
a minute.
It's Finn. I was going to let it go, Finn. Yeah.
By the way, we didn't mention how good Poe is. I think he's really good in his role too. Oscar Isaac. I thought he was great.
Disagreed. He's too happy.
As the pilot. Nah, he's supposed to be the hot shot pilot.
Good shot, Finn. Your name's Finn, right? Yeah, we're friends now.
Your name's Finn. Good shot, Finn. Hey, bro. Good job, bro.
You were going to bring this up maybe, but man, there's like instant bonding with people a lot in this movie. And maybe, you could argue maybe war does that for you. But man, instant like buddies for life happening very, very quickly.
I like it.
Yeah,
it makes me happy.
Very quickly.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a false sense of what people are really like.
It lies to kids about how happy the world is.
It's great. It's what you need when you're at the movies because you're escaping
When
already.
You kill somebody together, it makes you. It really brings you together. It really does.
One thing that didn't make sense to me, maybe you guys have a way to explain this, is that when Finn takes Poe away from the base there, wasn't he in like solitary confinement or something? Wasn't he disciplined? How did he get access to the prisoner? Weren't they going to watch him? Kylo Ren already kind of like had his eye on him, being not totally into it.
Supervisor did. He was supposed to report for reprogramming.
And he did. And he reported, and he was supposed to be like disciplined or something like that.
Yeah.
But then he still had access to this prisoner, which
that's fair.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You get in that uniform and they all look alike, so.
Another Star Wars thing.
Have, like,
why do they wear those uniforms? They get shot through them one shot every time.
Yeah.
They look cool, though.
Yeah, you get the uniform and you can go anywhere. That happened in the first one, too. You can all you need to do is get in that uniform and you get to go wherever you want to go.
If there's a little voice in your head, Andy, that says, "Shut up, Denny," I understand that. I get that a lot.
I think they do have a scene. So let me pull up my glasses here with my nerd. If you look at the script, there is actually
213. Obviously,
exactly. So there is a point where they talk about his. This is funny that this is actually a scene, but they talk about his disciplinary record, like with what's his face, Kylo Ren, and they're like, this is his first offense. So I think they're trying to communicate there that like he'd never done this before, and so maybe they just had him. I don't know. It's like when you're late the first time to your job, the manager's just like, "Don't do that again," and then you go back to work.
First time you fail to kill
Tuesday.
Innocent villagers, it's like, all right, well, maybe he's having a rough day there.
That's true. They do have a lot of stormtroopers, and if they had to discipline them all seriously every time, they might have much less in the field. I don't know.
I don't understand how there's also talk, and it even exists in the second film where, and this happens for Vader too. I don't know how it's fair that these people can be like saved and then not like be tried for war crimes or whatever. I mean, even if he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm good now," he still ordered the massacre of villagers, and God knows what else he's done in his dark career already. So even if he decides he's good now, does that excuse all the things he's done?
It doesn't, but he's so powerful with the Force that like you can't discipline him anyway. Like if he's going to join the good side, you could just kind of have to trust him. You're like, all right, dude.
I guess there's so much he can do with his power if he decided to be good that it's like that's okay. But he still decided to massacre a bunch of villagers. That's all that we saw, let alone all the other things that he's done up to this point. But yeah, fair enough.
I don't know, but it wasn't him, right? It was like the dark side in him, right? It's a different thing. They kind of like sectionalize it off, don't they?
I don't know. Is that what it is?
Is he like not conscious? I mean, at that point,
Andy, what do you think?
I don't think the dark side is supposed to be like a sentient force that like, it's like a demon inside of him. I think it's supposed to be like him, being twisted by it. But yeah, I think that is interesting that it's for some reason they try to paint him as a character that you should like, or in some way sort of like root for a little bit. But you're right. Like he like ordered this like mass murder in the first 5 minutes. But for some reason, and I think I honestly put this down to good writing and Adam Driver's performance, because in him you sort of see sort of I worked for a teacher for a little while, and you always have, those troublemakers. And some troublemakers are just like troublemakers for trouble's sake. And some you can kind of see that they're like putting on a show. And for some reason, it seems like Kylo Ren is sort of putting on a show for a little while. And so you root for him to like put that aside and like, put on his, I don't know, big boy clothes and be like a good person. But yeah, I think that's a good part of the script is like, you shouldn't like him. Like he's terrible. But for some reason, at least for a moment, you do.
Yeah.
So question about a scene with him. The scene where he's like confronted with Han Solo on the bridge there. Is he acting to his father? Like, is he totally 100% dark side and he knows it, but he wants to like lead on Han Solo? Or is he actually conflicted when he's like, welling up in the eyes and stuff? And then there is a shot where like the sun goes away and his face like turns evil. Like, did the winning of the dark side make him switch, or was it all like an act, I guess?
No, I think he's truly in pain. He feels like this is the way to be released from the pain, though. He's hoping that by this act, he'll actually be released. By finally killing, he's the good tortures him, basically. Like right now, like that's what is causing him pain, and he's wanting to get rid of it. And so it's a really interesting idea of like somebody being just absolutely tortured by this idea that there's some goodness in him.
So he actually has feelings for his father, but he wants the pain to go away more than that?
Well, he feels like that's his weakness.
I think the scene earlier on, which, it's kind of weird to say out loud, but his like prayer to Darth Vader is so informative of that moment. Because what does he say? He says, "I feel the call to the light."
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's feeling in that moment is that, these forces are really struggling within him. And he feels this is the moment where he does have to choose. It's sort of his final moment. Does he give the lightsaber to his dad and, actually go for good? Or is he going to kill his dad and that will be his ultimate turn to evil? And I think the interesting thing that these movies do, and especially bleeding into the second one, spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, is that they don't make it that easy for him. Like real life, it's not that easy. He continues to be conflicted, and and actually I think Snoke tells him in the second one, like, you've been torn apart by this decision, which I think is so powerful. And as you mentioned, like the lighting in that scene is so well done.
It's amazing.
The red light versus the blue light versus the sunlight, and when it goes away, like if you muted that scene, and because I'm a nerd, I have done this, and just watch the cinematography and the lighting tell you exactly what's happening. It is incredible, that single scene and what happens.
And I love it too, how his voice is so compressed, I guess, in the audio where he doesn't sound like he's in a space. It sounds like he's talking to you inside your own head almost. You know what I mean? Did you guys get that at all? Or am I crazy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't necessarily describe it that way. It's just, it gives you there's such a personalness, or like a sense of really like this, a very intimate sort of like view of this. And it's just really well done. Those are really good points. I mean, I think that's the idea. It's like, he feels like if he kills his father, that's it. There's no going back, and he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Like how could he get better? How could he be good after that? And so he's just like that. That's what he feels like. That's like jumping off the cliff for him, where there's no return. And he wants that. He wants to not be conflicted anymore. And he feels like this is his solution, as painful as it is. And as Andy says, it turns out not to be the solution.
I love that you mentioned the sound design on that scene, because it is, again, sorry, this is my film nerd coming out, but if you go back and watch that, there's always thousands of sounds in a movie that are hitting you at one moment. But if you watch that scene, all the sound slowly strips away to where when they're walking towards each other, all you hear is that very noticeable clang that you get when you're walking, on like a metal gangway or whatever. You just hear those clangs, and then they meet each other, and that goes away, and it is just the voices, which, in a Star Wars film is very odd. Normally Star Wars is filled with lasers and lights and hums and whatever is going on. And the score, and as you said, in that moment, even
is there
the
a score in the last one, like the fight between Luke and Darth Vader in the Return of the Jedi? Is there a score during that part? I forget.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like constant when they talk to each other. It probably fades or drops out. I don't remember, but certainly during the action scenes, there's quite the score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So
yeah.
No, and then it's just the voices, and as you said, it sort of feels like you're just listening. You're right there in this room. You're on the edge of your seat, and you really don't know what's going to happen, and then it happens, and it's The visual storytelling and the fact of the first thing that he says to him is take off the mask, and the last thing that Han Solo does is touch his son's face before he dies is just like beautiful. Yeah. That's what I mean by perfect movie. Some of the stuff they've done over and above just making it a Star Wars movie, I think really, really, really hits well.
Yeah. I didn't notice that those two things there in that scene. The Han Solo getting killed was spoiled for me as I waited in the theater to watch this movie.
Oh, no.
But I didn't believe it.
Okay, that worked.
So it wasn't quite spoiled.
What happened was they had this, I think they removed it since then, but there was this thing you used to be able to do back in 2015, I guess, where you could like, I don't know if you had to pay money or something, but you could tweet at something and then they would show your tweet on the screen while you waited for the movie to start. So somebody tweeted, Han dies.
What a dick.
And I saw it and I was like, what is this? That can't be real. That person's trying to fuck with us. And then it's like the one thing I thought when I saw Han die, I was like, God damn Twitter, man. That person fucking was trying to ruin it for people. What an asshole.
So it did sort of ruin it for you. It took you out of the moment.
It kind of did. Well, I mean,
that fucking asshole was sitting there and as he hit send, he was giggling like a little fucking
so
child. Yeah. He's like, this is hilarious. Fuck them. Even I wouldn't do that. I don't even like these movies. I'd leave it alone. Mean. No one wants to be ruined by the fucking... come on.
Don't ruin good times for people. That's like the rudest thing you could do.
He must have got a backlash on his page, right? I feel like you'd have to fucking...
That's probably a burner real Twitter quick. On that one.
Yeah, you'd have to deactivate real quick because people would be coming for blood. They'd find your IP address somehow. They'd be at your doorstep fucking slinging shit in your face.
But yeah, as Han Solo's body floated towards the abyss, my head was like, fucking Twitter, man. God damn it.
God damn it, Twitter. And then to think, who knew that would become such a pivotal thing in our lives as we went forward.
I know. I got a question, and I'm sure, Andy, you have a very good opinion on this one. Does BB-8 return the thumbs up, or does he flip off?
That was a question I was going to ask. Yeah. Is it the finger, or is it a thumbs up? My initial take was it's a thumbs up. As I watched it more and more, might be the finger.
I'm the exact same. I think the exact same thing is that.
He doesn't inform Rey. Wait, what? I mean, BB-8 doesn't tell Rey about his Finn is.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. But he doesn't. But BB-8 doesn't tell Rey that Finn is not truly a rebel.
Right.
And that's what Finn's asking BB-8 not to do.
Finn tricks BB-8 into saying something BB-8 doesn't want to say. And Finn's like, thank you for doing that. And he's like, fuck you, dude. Stop manipulating me. He could.
Really? I couldn't tell.
I don't
know. I thought BB-8's like, it's all right, man.
I thought when I first watched it, it was just like cute and the thumbs up. But now it could be either. I think. I don't know. I kind of like both. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But
no, that's a fun question, though. Because it's kind of how you see BB-8. Like, is he just sort of this happy, kind of like he's a dog, just always like, yeah. Or does he have that more like sort of saucy personality?
This is a hot debate online, apparently. So it's really there's some real.
Is it really? Like, is there a Reddit page?
Yeah. Well, if you ask, like, it's you can tell kind of with Google like what your autocomplete is, and if you type "did BB-8" and the completion is flip off Finn.
Wow.
Yes, we're hitting on hot button issues here, guys.
I didn't even.
So
what
does the internet say, John? Is there a consensus?
It seems to be the minority that he's flipping him off, I think.
Just as pessimists.
I mean, I think it would be hilarious if you were making the movie to be like, no, dude, we're definitely putting that in. Like, he's going to flip him off. That's it. That's the end of the story. I don't care what they say.
I have to watch this scene again. The way I interpreted that scene was Finn was asking BB-8 not to reveal to Rey that he was not really a rebel. That's what he was asking.
Not exactly. He's asking him to reveal the location of this base.
Right, because he doesn't know it.
He doesn't know it.
He wants to keep up the ruse that he's a rebel stud.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what he's thanking BB-8 for, and that's what BB-8 gives him the either the thumbs up or the flip off for.
Right.
But if BB-8 really wanted to piss Finn off, he could have just told Rey that Finn's not really a rebel.
I would see it as like a playful flip off, like you give your friends, like when you're like doing something for them, or like
go
they say something
yourself,
they
asshole. See you in a bit. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not like he's like, cut him off in traffic and he's flipping him off. It's like a more playful flip
He's like,
off.
oh, shut up, you fucking lying sack of shit. I like you anyway, though. I like you anyway.
It's a sarcastic thumbs up at that point, then.
Yeah. I just like it how he's mimicking his movements with like the only thing he can. Like he has a lighter that kind of looks like a hand, so he's going to use that to do the thumbs up.
That's true. There's nothing else he has.
So it was a cool moment either way.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I laughed out loud.
Yeah. So when you saw it in theaters, was there a moment that you would say people cheered the most at?
There's good laughter all the way through. I think the moment that hit me the hardest, and like I think I felt the room sort of, just like reverberate with excitement, was actually that final lightsaber battle. The moment where the score really hits it, and they're both holding like their lightsabers and each other's like arms in a struggle, and one lightsaber is hitting the earth and the other one is going to the sky, and then she beats him. Like, I think that's sort of the most like pinnacle moment. Either that or when the lightsaber flies by Kylo Ren and she catches it. I think both of those were like massive, like, moments in the theater.
Yeah.
Although when we saw I do remember
the Falcon.
To answer your question, yeah, when you see the Falcon the first time, everyone definitely cheered super loud.
Yeah, people stood up in their seats and were clapping and yelling. It was like insane.
Yeah, I still remember the collective gasp when Han died. When he was like, that also left an impression on me from the theater too.
TC has none of the weight on any of these scenes.
I know.
Nope.
Yeah, when it's like, oh, that piece of junk, and they start running towards the Millennium Falcon, you're like, that's another plane. I don't understand.
Yeah, so why are they taking the shit box again? That type of shit.
Yeah.
Even if it got blew up, you're going with that one? Really? There's got to be another one around here somewhere.
There's only 2 ships. One got blown up, stuck with the other one.
Yeah.
So I got another interpretive question here. When Han Solo gives Rey the gun and she says, like, you just pulled the trigger, right? And he says, there's a little more to it than that. Is he talking about the guilt of killing somebody or the safety?
I think he was just talking about the safety, actually. Because later she says...
Because I thought it was like the guilt of killing somebody, but then she fucks up the safety a little later on. So I was like, oh, maybe it was just the safety.
Wow, I did not have any deep questions about that moment at all. I don't know. Maybe a joke. I don't know. You've stumped me.
Because you'd think, like, if you're gonna give somebody a gun and they're like, you pull the trigger, yay, and you're like, dude, you're gonna be murdering people with that. It's more to it than just pulling the trigger. You have to deal with some mental shit afterwards. But I guess Han Solo doesn't really care about murdering people. He seems pretty fine with it. So maybe.
Yeah, especially since he said earlier on, like, how did you catch all those Rathtars? Used to have a bigger crew, and that's it. Apparently tens of people died because they're getting this guy. He doesn't care. Yeah. Whatever.
Well, Harrison Ford is Han Solo is like the man, right? In Star Wars, he did like this, I forget what it's called, but he did like a specific run, the fastest anyone's ever done it before in space.
Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I like it, having the info. But if he's so good, why is he always in debt and why is he always running away from all these other people?
Because he's also, he's like somebody with a gambling problem. I mean, he's just, it doesn't mean he's necessarily bad at what he does, but he just keeps doing the same thing and getting into these situations. That's just kind of the way I've interpreted this character. Is it's like he's a smuggler and a rogue, and he's just always taking risks. And so it always, sooner or later, that ends him up in hot water. And that's just kind of the way he lives his life.
Yeah.
And it might be too that if you want to go deeper on it or something, but after losing his son the way he did, in terms of like, or what happened to his son, not that he was dead, but just like dealing with this and what happened with his relationship with Leia, that he's just returned. Like, this is a way of just not having to think about anything else, like creating these crises for himself. Then he's back to these old sort of like adventurous ways that then he doesn't have to think or brood on these other sorts of like more disturbing topics of like family life or commitment to the rebellion or all of that stuff, which is maybe more like harder to deal with.
Yeah, that's actually sort of in the more nerdy aspects. I remember one of the things people didn't like was that Han Solo had reverted kind of back to who he was before the whole trilogy. And people are like, well, his character whole changed by the end of the originals. But I do think it's interesting, like real life, that happens all the time, right? You think people change or they get in a good relationship and they're, clean stuff up for a little while. And then that, doesn't turn out and they sort of revert. I think it is interesting that this major tragedy led him to sort of revert to some of his more negative tendencies of letting people down, of being very selfish, of giving up on his family, or at least Leia, and, because of this major tragedy. I think it's pretty true to life. It's not necessarily the most fun Star Wars thing to talk about, but I do think it's a very good writing choice.
Well, and it's always, it's again, the Han shot first stuff too. It's like, that's part of his draw as a character, is how flawed he is. That's what makes him so, that's why I think he's so likable. Yeah, is because he's kind of a tragic figure. So TC, I don't know if you know the Han shot first controversy.
Nope.
Well, it really isn't a controversy. In the first Star Wars film, there's this scene where Han is being questioned by a bounty hunter, and Han just shoots him, basically.
Greedo.
Nice.
Later, Lucas edited that to make it look like Greedo did something to provoke Han to shoot him, because he didn't want them to think that Han is like that much of a bad guy that he would just shoot somebody outright.
Yeah, because they turned it from like a questionable character to like, he's totally a good guy. Nothing interesting here.
He's a perfect white male.
Yeah.
It also looks awful.
Do anything bad.
You should look it up on YouTube. Like the CGI they did, like his like neck moves in like a very inhuman way to like dodge this like blaster bullet, and then he fires the blast. It's real bad.
But nothing is as bad as when Han Solo walks over the tail of Jabba the Hutt in A New Hope.
Oh, that's also bad.
You remember
also
that?
bad.
Yeah, he like jumps like a foot up in the air without bouncing or anything. That's fucking George Lucas. Goddammit, why? But I got one more question.
Okay.
What turned R2-D2 on at the end?
Huh.
I got nothing. Every movie gets one coincidence.
Was it? So I have a couple guesses.
I thought it had something. It had something to do with the map was complete and they were able to go find Luke.
But they didn't. So R2-D2 woke up to give them the complete map. Like he had the rest of the map. Why did he wake up?
So somehow he woke up because of this map thing, and that he knew there was a way to go back to Luke. Yeah, I don't know. That's somehow I got the impression that it had to do with well, they're going to go get Luke. R2 needs to be there, so R2 is going to wake up somehow. But that's all I got out of it.
Yeah, initially I thought it was maybe a Luke thing, that like Luke was either by the Force or he had programmed him for some reason. But now we know, having seen the next one, that wasn't the case. So I don't know. I think maybe that's just sort of.
Well, the next one he can like travel in his mind really far, right? So maybe he like is watching whatever planet they're on, and he's like, oh,
but he's also not really like interested in anything that's happening. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like he would really.
That's true.
Give it shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, Google autocomplete, type in why did R2-D2 and you get wake up.
I have no original thoughts. Life is not worth living. Oh,
no. No, that means these are good questions.
Okay.
Why did R2-D2 wake up?
It means everybody's asking this.
Wow.
So we have like the idea is R2-D2, who's been all over the galaxy, is still in his coma, the droid in a coma, whatever. But he hears this. What does he hear? He hears them talking about Luke, and it triggers something that ultimately wakes him up. Like, so he's overhearing what's being talked about in front of him.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, I guess.
P8 comes up and says something to him, which is basically, I got this piece of a map. Do you happen to have the rest? This is what Abrams said in an interview. And the idea was R2 has been all over the galaxy. He still has come up, but he hears this, what BB-8 says to him, and it triggers something to wake him up.
Huh.
There you go.
Okay.
I guess I can buy that.
Yeah, sure. That's the intent. That works. So fine. Yeah. So any more thoughts on this movie? I watched the making of and some special features, but before we get into that stuff, you guys have any more thoughts?
The other thing was, like, I don't know if you guys remember, there was initial controversy over Kylo Ren's lightsaber, that it had these cross guards on it. Like for some reason, people thought that when they saw, there was a trailer, which basically all it showed was like the kind of a shadow of Kylo Ren in the sort of wintry woods.
Yeah.
And you see the cross guard, and that's about it. And people just interpreted this as meaning that the franchise was ruined. Like that.
Jeez. It was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
What was the problem?
Well, I think it just meant that there was such trepidation over where was Star Wars going to go now, after you had the prequels that were terrible, and now you have J.J. Abrams coming on board and taking it, and Disney taking it. Like, where is it going to go now? And I think that it just, what they saw was something very different, and in the absence of any other information, people just assumed like, oh shit, now they're just going to mess with this all kinds of ways.
Yeah, like it wasn't part of the lore. No one had ever done that before. Blah blah. It doesn't make sense with this, a lightsaber. And I loved that, like, because I remember all that hype because I'm part of that nerd culture. But like that like complained about this. But I love that in the movie, like they actually show him using it to like good effect when he fights Finn, right? Like when he's up against the tree
or whatever.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
Oh, no. And in the context of the actual film, and once you see it, it just becomes another cool Star Wars thing. It's just, it has no relevance other than that. Like, this is just another cool way.
And what? These fucking people don't think that things change and technology doesn't get better when there's the Force? Come on. Like they're gonna just have this lightsaber without. I mean, that kind of look kind of cool. I don't know. I mean, like things progress. What's the deal? I love.
Why don't they
combine
a gun with a lightsaber? They could block the bullets, but they could also shoot people from far away.
Oh, like they do both at once. Like they could let bolt go or keep it.
Yeah, it'd be like
a Star Wars Dropbox where you can drop off ideas.
Ideas, yeah,
fan style. They should have that. And just burn all those ideas.
It'd be both saber and blaster at the same time.
It'd be like a Civil War bayonet rifle. Something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. You'd have a VFX dude reading the thing, being like, "Nope, that one's gonna be a pain in the ass. No."
What about lightsaber chucks? Something like that.
All right, done. Send it.
Well, he kind of had like with the Darth Maul. He had what did he have? He had
like a bow staff, but it was a lightsaber.
It was just double-ended, right? One out of either side.
Right. Double-ended lightsaber is what he had.
I'm pretty sure I read a Star Wars book at one point where there was a lightsaber whip, which would be pretty sweet.
Oh, wow. That defies the physics
of
lightsabers. That doesn't make any sense.
The physics of lightsabers.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a thing.
Man, that would be deadly.
Yeah, you might hurt yourself with one of those.
Oh, no, I'd hurt myself with any of these things.
Yeah.
I would not last.
Indiana Jones wouldn't have a lip.
Yeah, I would look down the lightsaber and accidentally hit the button and just bore a hole through the center of my head.
That'd be the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what's this then? That's it.
So, any other thoughts on the movie before we go on to some making of stuff?
Yeah.
I'm curious about your guys' thoughts on the actual lightsaber fight itself, because there's some talk, not really intense, but this versus sort of episode 1, if you guys remember Phantom Menace, the really elaborate, choreographed, almost kung fu style lightsabers versus this more gritty, they're sweaty, they're just swinging these things, very close quarters. Which sort of style resonates more for you guys?
This one.
Oh yeah,
for me,
definitely.
Yeah. There's weight behind it and stuff. It's great.
Right. I think it's a good call. It sort of epitomizes the difference between these films. The prequel kind of Star Wars fight, it's for a kid's movie. It's like G.I. Joe with lasers flying everywhere or something like that.
There's nothing worse than Yoda flipping around, like a CG Yoda flipping around, having no weight to the fight. That's just terrible.
It's like the action for the action's sake and not having consequence or a weight to it. And that's sort of it's just annoying then and insulting for the whole thing. It just sort of downplays it. It also, it gives a really bad message in terms of fighting even. It just sort of it trivializes the whole thing, killing people. It just makes it a trivial sequence, which is all about just the action and the look of it, which is just, I think that's maybe arguably a terrible message. So this is more real, where you actually see it's a real fight. It's a real struggle between people, and you see them struggle. You see, that last fight with Ren and Rey they sound like some cartoon characters when you say it that way. But
between Ren and Stimpy over here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a struggle, and you see the characters. You see Rey struggling with her newfound powers and her anger over these newly found mentors, killed by this guy. And you see Ren struggling with his own inner turmoil and being wounded. It's a really a fantastic fight scene. And I normally don't necessarily like these kinds of things in terms of action sequences. But it was really clear this was done not for the sake of the action, but for the sake of the battle, the sort of
the story.
Yeah, the characters, the plot, it moves it along.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fantastic to see. And that's something even with the Avengers movies, I get, even though I like them and they're really well done, I get so tired of all the punching and the fighting and it just goes on and on and on. And for the sake of it, it's done for the sake of the spectacle of it. Mm-hmm. So it's really great to see these sequences are really done for the sake of the story and what it means for the characters. And it's still really well done action at the same time.
Yeah. Is there a trend going on now with realistic heavy violence? Or is that just I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to think of
I don't know.
Just that juxtaposition is definitely, it stands out because it's never been this realistic. And even I guess Rogue One was kind of this realistic, but The Last Jedi was not at this, really. Not as heavy.
Yeah, they were a little bit more choreographed, especially in that big fight in the throne room, whatever that was.
Right. I mean, that one was more about Rey and Ren cooperating and fighting together. But at the same time, it does get you it does get more actiony because basically they're just killing guy after guy after guy after guy. Basically, just it's like this choreographed scene, and so that's a good point, Denny. Like that just becomes an extended action sequence, kind of, because it's not so all those guys they're killing they're just there to be killed. Basically, that's their job in the movie. They're supposed to be there to die in spectacular fashion, one way or the other, and to show that Ren and Rey are cooperating together for this moment. And then that's sort of like, that doesn't give you nearly the weight of like when Ren and Rey were fighting each other in the movie previously.
And in the other Star Wars movies, I feel like in this movie, there's 2 instances where they show people fearing for their lives before dying, which doesn't happen in any of the other Star Wars movies. And it really only happens in like R-rated movies.
That's a good point.
But like the scene where they shoot up the villagers and they let you linger and you hear the villagers like panic and they're like, fuck, they're going to shoot us. Like, that's not cool. That should be R-rated. That shit is scary as hell. And like,
but that's good. That they should, you should see this idea of violence as, that it's not something to sit back and enjoy. I think that's good to have weight to this stuff so that you don't see it. Yeah. It's just there for, this isn't just there for your action entertainment. I mean, there's certain movies that do that and that's fine, but you can't make it a serious movie about serious characters if you're going to do that action stuff at the same time. You can't sort of have your cake and eat it too. Then if you
say that, but then Michael Bay's The Rock exists, John.
I know. Right. We can discuss that later. But you can't, if you want to make an action, just a happy B movie to have a lot of fun with action or whatever, that's fine. But then don't take away a whole lot of weight to it either, in terms of the characters or in terms of what the violence means. But yeah.
And that's a very interesting point just in film overall. Like I think the great example of that, this is sort of getting off, sorry, but I'll come back around. The difference between sort of The Godfather and Goodfellas, I don't think you guys have probably not gotten there because that's probably high up on the list, both those movies. But Godfather, is this, everyone hopefully has seen The Godfather. It's great. It sort of romanticizes the mob and you're rooting for them. You're rooting for them to kill certain people or to like survive certain people. And it's not that same sort of like weight of death and violence. And then you see Goodfellas and it's like just like gross. You're like, this whole system is totally screwed up and like revolting. And both are good movies, but they come at that same thing, sort of the American mob, and from such different perspectives. And I think that's sort of a fun thing to bring to Star Wars, that same sort of thing. Like this fight is, like a fear for death or a fear of those stakes, as opposed to just stormtroopers falling off to them, screaming, ah, like the first one is,
Yeah. So what do you think? Trivia time? What do you think, guys?
All right. Sure.
Trivia time. So Andy, what happens is I typically watch more shit than these guys do. And then I try to pick the coolest things I learn on the making ofs and the commentaries and whatever else there might be in terms of extra stuff. I spit it out. And if you got anything to say about it, say it.
Okay.
That sound good?
Just make fun of them.
Yes. Just tell me it was a bad fact and make me feel bad about myself.
Yeah. All right, Denny, moving on.
Are these coming in the form of questions or are you just saying facts?
All kinds of things.
Oh, no, we're on Jeopardy now. This is the Jeopardy phase.
You want to play a game? Here's a little game. How many times did John Boyega audition for his role as Finn? Guesses?
I'll take 4 for 200, Alex.
This is fun already. What?
I'll take the rapist.
You might guess there's a bit of history here, Andy.
That's therapists.
I would guess that you asked the question, it's got to be more than once, unless it's a trick question and it was 0.
Ooh, wouldn't that be tricky?
But let's say, I'm gonna say twice.
I'm gonna split the difference 3.
9 times.
Oh shit!
What? 9 times.
How does that happen?
Holy shit!
He was the biggest fanboy out of everybody on set, apparently. And it's been his lifelong dream to be in Star Wars. So he just came to audition after audition and got in 9 times somehow and like pretty much begged his way into the role.
Is that for 9 different parts or is that for Finn the role he auditioned
for
9
Finn
times?
the role 9 times.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
that's really cool.
It's crazy.
Man, people out here are fucking weird like that. They'll just keep trying. You got to love the lack of giving up.
Yeah.
I'd have done it once and been like, all right, looks like I'm not going to be an actor. Fuck it. I'm done.
I wonder if they were imagining a black man for Finn in the beginning.
No, it was actually Poe was supposed to be black and Finn was supposed to be white in the original script.
I gotcha.
Which is weird because you wouldn't think they'd write that into the script. Poe, who was a black man,
want a black
is flying the plane. You know, I don't know how they write scripts.
I think the nerds will like a Hispanic in this role.
Yeah.
There was a really weird scene in the original script where they met each other and like, yeah, let's get off this. Oh, wow, you're black. Hey, wow, you're white. It just kept going.
How about we do this? And they take the two words and flip them. They're like, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Script is working itself out.
What if the pilot's not the black one? Like, yeah.
You're a script genius. Oscar's coming in. Here we
go. But I think, I don't know. I mean, good for him. And I think that, again, it's something else that makes this movie feel very modern in the sense of its cast is that it's just not like you got the white savior dude and then you have the motley cast of characters backing them up. I mean, you still got the white girl, but it's a girl. So, but with
we're not there yet, people. We're not there yet. Soon.
Right. Fair enough. But still, I think it feels very modern in that sense.
So the art department apparently had a free reign. Like you said, John, apparently Simon Pegg was credited for, having such a large art department to making practical effects and things like that. J.J. Abrams pretty much told him, make as much as you can, as cool as you can, and if it's good enough, it might be in the movie. So he pretty much like motivated, he didn't give like specific direction for a lot of things. He was just like, do the best thing you've ever done, and you might see your work of art in this blockbuster movie, which made everyone try super hard.
And then he went and had like a really nice vegetarian dinner or something. I mean, like what a badass thing to be able to do, right? You're like, no, guys, I'm not going to give you anything. You guys are just going to come up with it on your own. All right, see you 2 weeks.
He does seem pretty involved, though. I don't know, as a director.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't even sound like remotely, like that's pretty impressive that's actually how it went down.
Yeah. And people everybody that worked on this was a Star Wars fan. So everyone kind of knew what they were going for, because everyone loved the original trilogy and kind of didn't like the prequel. So they didn't want to do that again.
So they were all on the same page then.
Cool. It was shot on film, which is rare. Not digital film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Doesn't happen very frequently. One scene was shot on IMAX film, but not all of it. Yeah. Would you say that? So looking at the special effects, would you guys think that like a lot of the effects were done in post, real, like composite shots, kind of layering things? What, like, where was it most of the time in your heads? Like, did you believe what you saw, or you're like, this is pretty fantastic trickery they have going on?
Fantastic trickery.
I mean, I saw a lot of the spaceship stuff I thought is more obviously digital, but I may be wrong there given all the things that you're saying. But a lot of the other stuff seemed more practical.
Practical when possible.
So I would recommend watching there's like a documentary on the Blu-ray that has like a lot of behind the scenes shots and stuff. There is a lot of practical effects, and not just like practical, like where what I thought was like they film an explosion and they overlay the real explosion on this other, set or whatever. But a lot of the explosions were like people right there, like when the TIE fighters were shooting at them on Jakku. That was all real explosions in the sand and things like that. There was a lot of fire all over the place. The scene where they filmed Snoke and everyone was looking up, they actually had Andy Serkis on like this 50-foot high wall. So they were talking to Andy Serkis, and they just like projected the face of Snoke over him.
Wow.
So there's just a lot of weird things they would do. Like they built a replica Millennium Falcon, real sized, and they shot in it like it was a real Millennium Falcon. They pretty much built one, and they used it as like a set. And like people, Peter Jackson came on set. Kevin Smith apparently was made to sign a disclosure form because he's known to be like a loudmouth. And they brought him on set, and they're like, you cannot tell anybody about this shit, dude.
I don't care how stoned you get, Kevin.
Yeah. But apparently, that seems like a pretty good motivator to be famous. It's like, once you're famous, even if you're not working on it, you might get invited to go see the Millennium Falcon set, which would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Is it true that I heard this? Is it true that scene where you see Han Solo first get into the cockpit is actually like they purposely didn't show Harrison Ford like anything like about the concept art or what it's going to look like, and like the first time he goes in there, actual in real life, they shot that scene?
I've heard that too, but they did not say anything about that in the making of documentary.
Okay.
So up in the air on whether or not
seems like a
true.
good thing to do if you're a director.
Yeah. In the original script, Poe died pretty early on, but once they cast Oscar Isaac, like the past 4 movies, apparently he died in those movies, so they didn't want to like kill him again as an actor, so they wrote him into the rest of the script.
Really?
That's a good move. He's so good.
You imagine, though, if it wasn't Oscar Isaac, Poe would be gone from the story?
Well, he definitely, I mean, you can see where he died. He just died right there.
When he disappears.
Yeah.
Really? So they just felt bad for him because of his previous movie career?
Well, they didn't want, same thing with like Simon Pegg. They kind of wanted to put him in there, but they didn't want to show his face because, J.J. Abrams, Simon Pegg, that's the thing. They don't want people to be thinking about that as opposed to like getting into the story. So if you've seen all of Oscar Isaac's thing, he's like, this guy dies again. This guy always dies. You get sucked out of the movie.
Fair enough.
So they didn't want that.
Well, I'm glad I liked his character.
Yeah. Very likable. It's kind of not like a Han Solo light, or maybe like a good-hearted Han Solo or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's more of the,
The Captain Phasma costume / outfit design was originally for Kylo Ren.
Interesting.
And Kathleen Kennedy apparently came on set one day, pointed at a picture and was like, what is this? And Kathleen Kennedy is the producer, like the main producer. And they're like, oh, that's Kylo Ren's old one. She's like, let's use that. I want to use that. So they gave it to that other character. That's pretty much all I got. Couple of numbers, 7 months of lightsaber training. So like they all were doing their own stunts for the most part with the lightsabers. They actually had lightsabers in their hands. They looked like toys, which was kind of funny.
Wow.
But they were apparently heavier than like the practice
like
sticks.
Plastic, like glowy sticks.
They were glowy, yeah. The light in those shots where you have like close-ups of their faces in the last battle. I'm sure they've added light to it, but there is light coming, shining on their faces. You can see it like behind the scenes.
I was wondering about that because the light is so prominent in those shots. You have to have some sort of natural light to enhance. Like they couldn't just add all of that blue and red. Does that make sense?
No, they can't.
Yeah, it would look weird probably.
Yeah, fake. It wouldn't look,
fake. So I thought this was cool. If you want to see how far Star Wars has came, in the original Star Wars movie, the model of the Millennium Falcon was 5 feet long. And in this one, it was full size. So it was like 120 feet long. And you could walk inside of it. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, did you guys know that like they brought in a bunch of the old actors into this movie? Like Warwick Davis played a character who played, he was Wicket in the Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, Wicket. Yeah.
Wicket. Yeah.
Sure.
They also had the original guy who played Chewbacca, but he just underwent knee surgery. He's like super freaking tall and he's old now. So he didn't do a lot of the scenes, and they had this like young European basketball player who hasn't acted in anything else, beat Chewbacca.
But just enough to bring him back and give him credit, Peter Mayhew.
He walked around set giving people hugs, and he said that was pretty awesome.
And by all accounts, a wonderful guy.
Yeah,
like a super nice guy. He always is like on Reddit too, answering questions and things like that too. He just pops in, people bring him up.
That's how you know if people are wonderful, if they're on Reddit all day. That's really the standard.
That's like the thing. Yeah, right. His posts are really thought out,
There are at least 300 words. He never says something no one else on the thread has already said.
Right. He always gives shout outs to others.
Exactly.
It's cool, man.
There's a lot of AMAs. I have a trivia question for you guys.
Let's hear it.
Sorry if I'm stepping on any toes here.
Absolutely not.
So the stormtrooper who releases Rey when she's in there and she's like, let go of these restraints and I'll drop it. Yeah. Do you guys know the actor who is inside the stormtrooper costume there?
Oh, wait, I have a guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Christian Bale.
Ooh, a good guess, but no. Very close. Think of the British version of that.
Crap. Daniel Craig?
Yes, he likes things shaken, not stirred. Daniel Craig, yeah.
Wait, what? You got that off of he's the British Christian Bale?
I was trying to be nice. He's Batman.
He got that. That's crazy. I would never put that together.
Well, just you say British, and then I thought of Bond, and it just sort of
that worked. Yeah, I was Batman is kind of the American Bond, but a little cooler. Anyway, whatever. I guess Bourne would be that'd probably be a better. Anyway, whatever.
It was Matt Damon.
Yeah, dude, he was out there mopping, and now he's killing. He's great.
Yeah.
It's always Matt Damon.
You wanted to be a stormtrooper, but the helmet wouldn't fit on his head.
Wicked smart, dude. Come on. I do math, I do space, I do everything.
I'm going to release the cuffs and I'm going to drop the weapon.
Hey, move the cuffs. I'll fucking take you back myself. It's like,
what? Is that the Force you're trying on me, huh? Is that the Force?
Hey, the Force, dude? Oh, that's cute.
If we learned anything in this episode, it's that there needs to be a Boston stormtrooper.
Yes.
Dude, what are you shooting at, man? What are you shooting at? You're hitting nothing. You're shooting at nothing.
Look at you bum. You're a bum. Go ahead, shoot again.
That guy was from Charlestown.
The rebels are over there. You're shooting at the wall. What is wrong with you?
This is a YouTube short for sure, guys. We could get so many hits.
Oh, yeah. We should do it with all Lego dudes.
We could probably get Ben Affleck, too. It'd be great.
Yeah, there we go.
We need a large budget. We got to get some good Stormtrooper outfits for this one.
There we go. All right, here's another question for you guys. The cantina scene, so when they're at Maz Kanata's place, they're playing a song in the background, which was written by a famous Broadway composer. So this might be a deep cut. You know, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, you guys want to guess?
Don't know many Broadway composers off the top. If it's a modern one, maybe it's the guy.
It's like
who
the
did
one
Hamilton.
main modern one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most famous one.
Like some guy involved in Hamilton. I don't know his name.
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that was just not a deep cut. I had no idea who it was because I don't follow any of this.
Have you seen Moana? He did Moana.
All
too.
three of you.
Yep. He composed that and wrote those. He's in the new whatever that is, Mary Poppins movie.
Ooh.
Oh, is he? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna be really good. All right, two more. I'll go through here quick. So,
hey, way to bring the trivia, man.
Yes.
Hey, man. Yeah, you're doing more effort than I even put in.
I'm this much of a nerd. All right, so this is another sort of semi-deep cut, but there are two voice consultants, which who knows what that is, to BB-8. So two listed voice consultants on the final credits. Yeah, both pretty famous. They're both comedians. One is on SNL or has been on SNL.
I'm going to go Bill Hader.
Yes, correct.
What?
Wow, really?
Oh, I know he works on South Park, so that's kind of like similar, maybe. Like,
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know Hader worked on South Park.
Yeah, he kind of sits in the room with them and laughs at things, and if he laughs at them, they put it in the
like
episode.
in the documentary, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that him? Yeah.
If Hader laughs at it, it's good shit, and you put it in the episode.
But what does he have to do with, like, as an R2D2 expert, or in terms of just like the comedic value of this? I guess
I'm pretty sure that it was like literally, this happens in LA. This was actually in London, but like he was just at a party, and J.J. Abrams was at the party, and he was in the back room with this other guy that we haven't guessed yet, and they were just like, "How should this sound?" And these other comedians just kind of made sounds, and I guess JJ liked it and said, "Why don't you come into the studio?" And I think they recorded the voices, but they like okayed the sound or like tried to get the sound right. The other guy is Ben Schwartz, who's famously John Ralphio from Parks and Rec.
He's Sonic the Hedgehog now.
Yep, and he's going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. Yep.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you're not wrong, Eddie. This stuff actually does take place just like that in Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I grew up in Los Angeles.
You know
so
that.
There's always
insane. Like that. Like you hear those stories, you're just like, nah. No. That's exactly what happened. It was a fucking Thursday night in the hills somewhere, and they're fucking shit talking.
Well, the guys who made R2D2 for this movie met J.J. Abrams at like a nerd con or whatever somewhere in Europe, and they made an R2D2, and they were like talking to J.J. Abrams, and they said like, "Hey, if you ever need like this is before he was going to work on the movie, I guess, or before they knew about it." And he's like, "If you ever need help doing this, like we'll be your guys." And a few years later, he ended up calling those guys, and they were the ones who made R2D2 for the movie.
It's such an interesting thing. All of us are like, well, we got the corporate gig, we like started out from here and we've been linearly looking forward to the next step. And these guys are like, I was at a party, man, having a good time, and now I'm in the fucking movie. It's great. It's like a whole different world. I don't understand it.
It sounds stressful. It sounds like too much chance.
Well, yeah, until you're on the top.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, man. It's like that scene in La La Land, like someone in the crowd. If you're not from LA, you see that and you're like, yeah, right. Like they would actually go to parties just thinking they'd get jobs. Nope, that's how it's done.
They absolutely do. And it's actually kind of shitty because when you do go to parties out here, you actually don't have as many meaningful conversations as you think because everybody's angling.
Yeah, unless you're a producer, then you get a lot of conversations you don't want.
Right. Yeah, but even still, like I've been to a few parties before where there's been like people trying to do stuff, and it's fucking annoying because you just want to hang out. Like me, I'm over there. I'm nobody. I don't give a fuck. And everyone's
talking to me about Star Wars. I don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about Star Wars, dude. I don't care what you're doing with Abrams. I don't give a fuck. And he's like, no, man, it's my big break, bro. Fucking take a Lyft ride out here. People are like, what do you do? Oh, you got a card? Like, no. Can I go home? I got like some booze and some drugs on me, and I'm trying to go home. Like, can you just get me home? Hey, man, like, relax. Like, get off my case. So, well, let me show you my trailer. I had one guy pull his fucking his goddamn like iPad out in the car.
What? They show you his trailer home?
His trailer, yeah. He found out where I worked, and he was just like, oh, let me show you something.
That trailer home, Denny, his movie trailer.
Wait, did he live in a movie trailer though?
No,
it is a
Danny.
trailer home.
He lived in a trailer home movie trailer.
If he's big enough to have a trailer for a movie, why is he showing strangers in the cab that he's driving this trailer?
Denny, you realize all you have to do is have a little bit of cash to make a trailer, right?
Oh, so he wasn't in a movie. He just bought himself a movie trailer in hopes to be able to use his own trailer?
No, he made a trailer for his own thing.
Not like a physical trailer, like a trailer to a film.
Shit, am I an idiot?
Oh my God, dude. That is fantastic. I had no idea you were that confused.
That confused.
So like when I hear the stories about this, like people at the parties and like they're like making noises in the back and now it's in the movie. It's like I can't believe that I know that that's how it probably exactly happened.
I'm on medication. I'm a little sick. If you can't, I'm gonna drop that card now. I'm gonna drop that card to save myself from embarrassment. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my last question. There's one actor who from the prequels that is referenced and has a part in this movie. Do you know who that actor is and where it happens in this movie? So one actor from the prequels that appears in some fashion in this movie
as the same character.
It is as the same character, yes. As a hint, I will say appears is a very misleading verb. Maybe voices would be a better one.
Voices.
It's a pretty deep cut.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing
to find out. I got nothing. I'm interested to know.
So Ian McGregor does come back for a single line of dialogue as Obi-Wan Kenobi. When Rey has her vision, you're kind of distracted by all the stuff that's happening. But at the end, the very last thing you hear, the first time you see it, in fact, the first time I thought it just kind of sounds like whispers. But if you go back and listen to it, it actually is just one whisper. It's Ian McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi saying, "Rey, these are the first steps." So he actually came in and did record that, and it's in the movie.
Huh.
Oh man, nice fact.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, Denny, he's out-facting you.
I've been out-facted.
You just met your match.
I've been out-facted. Oh, I never thought this day would come.
Yeah.
Speculative question to end this. What's going to happen to Leia? Carrie Fisher's dead. They decided
probably
to
not
keep her
going to do
alive.
much in the next one.
They had an out. I was so confused.
Hold on. Can we go back to that? Probably not going to do much in the next one. I mean, yeah. Well, I think that's
they've already CG'd her completely before.
Yeah, they've CG'd her before, so they.
No, I know, but that was just like, it was so nonchalant. Like, not going to do much in the next one. Am I right? That's great. Oh shit. I could totally see them taking like composites and then using her in a hologram fashion somehow.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so TC in the most recent movie, or not the most recent episode, she died before it came out, and they she could have died. Like she did die in the middle of the movie, and then she came back.
Right. They shot her. She was like
kept her dead.
Exactly. She was like in space. Like yeah.
And everybody else died, but then she floated back because she has the Force and she can fly. It's just,
I definitely think because of that, there's a script going around with episode 9 where like she is pivotal and like a really crucial character. Obviously now they can't do that. My guess is the opening scene of the next one is like her funeral, and it's sort of like everyone's together before they get like split up in whatever adventures.
It'll be like
after that.
What is it, Alien 3, when like they all just are dead at the beginning because they crashed the space. Is that how that begins? Right? It's like Newt and like the crew is all dead, and it's just Ridley.
I don't know. Alien 3, I
never saw past Aliens.
I got nothing.
So
what?
Yeah.
I got
Alien 3 is not bad, guys.
What?
David Fincher. Come on now.
What?
I heard that's his worst movie.
It probably is, but no, it's not as bad as Panic Room.
He likes it.
Panic Room and Gone Girl. Those movies fucking suck.
Wow, Gone Girl
was
Gone Girl.
I really didn't like Gone Girl.
I don't like Gone Girl either.
Yeah, you should listen to our episode on that one.
Oh man,
I hate Ben Affleck. Is pretty much what it comes down to.
Oh man, now this is gonna open a whole. Okay, so do you hate the actor Ben Affleck or the director Ben Affleck or both?
The actor and the actor when the director is doing the thing because he makes himself take his own shirt off all the time. Which I'm not a fan of.
Have you seen The Town?
Yes.
Come on, you didn't love The Town?
It was pretty good. I'm from Boston,
I like
so
The Town. Yeah. You like The Town. Come on.
I like The Town.
You better not say you don't like The Town. I'm gonna fucking kick your fucking ass.
That whole love story with him and the girl was stupid. I don't know. There's a lot of dumb parts, but all the robbery stuff and the chases throughout Boston were awesome.
Oh man, we'll have to have a longer talk because I love that movie, and also Gone Baby Gone, the one he did before
love
that
movie.
was also brilliant.
Great movie.
See, there's two great Ben Affleck movies you love. You can't say you hate Ben Affleck.
I don't think he
but
likes
Ben
him
Affleck
as an
wasn't
actor.
in Gone
That's
Baby
it.
Gone. He wasn't in there.
It's the
That's
actor.
true. It was his brother.
Yeah, his brother's great.
Probably a worse real life person, but maybe
Right.
a better actor.
And I just saw him in a commercial, and I guiltily thought, I'm kind of glad he's back, even though he's a goddamn creep.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
so
that whole
sad,
thing
too.
with what's his name was an interesting story.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that was
Not good. Not good.
But anyway, any other thoughts on this movie, guys?
Nope.
No. So, Andy, what we do at the end here is, I guess, for someone who doesn't, I don't know, what's a good way to phrase this? If you had a list of what you thought, and you probably have thought about this before because you are a movie buff, but movies that deserve to be in the top 250 movies ever made. Ranked.
Because 250 is the number that obviously makes sense.
Yes.
To put on the amount of movies that you might like someday. So, yeah. Is this in your top 250, Andy?
boy, yeah, that's a lot of movies. I would say
It's not as many as you think.
I would say yes. And I think not just because I like it a lot, but I think the fact that I think it's one of the only two films that have made $2 billion. I think its importance is sort of unquestioned. And on top of that, I think it's a good movie. So I would say yes, it is in my top 250.
TC.
I'm afraid to go against the grain on this one.
Just
so,
you have to. You have to.
Yeah. I'm going to say
no.
No. I'm going to say no.
Yeah. You'd be lying if you said yes.
Yeah, I would totally be lying. Yeah.
John,
At least we got that out there.
Yeah.
I think, not just, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I also think what it represents, like what it did given the history of what it was doing. I mean, given that it had to take Star Wars for what it was and do something else with it, but sort of like reinvent it in some ways. I think that it is a really impressive thing to pull off. I think it was a really tall order. I think just doing that alone makes it first just a really impressive achievement. So yeah, for me.
Yeah. Now I would go too. And even though like probably the least original movie, I mean, you kind of want some shred of originality when you're talking about like the best movies ever, because that's a huge part. You want people to keep being creative and stuff. And this movie is you can't really argue against the fact that it's a rehash of the other ones, but the fact that it does it so well and maybe better than the other ones, like, I don't know, the plots and the special effects and the fights, the sound, the cinematography, everything just comes together possibly better than the other ones. The acting is certainly better. It's hard to say no. And the franchise is just one of the best franchises ever. And it's still going strong, which is kind of nuts because it came, what was it, like 50 years ago, almost 40 years ago? John, you were there. How long ago was it?
Long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it, I guess. Any more thoughts? Andy.
I have a follow-up question this is probably not for TC, probably more for John and Denny. Sorry, TC. Where would you guys, so there are 10 Star Wars films, so less than 250. Where would you put this on that list? Sort of generally. You don't have to give me an exact number.
Number 4.
Where do you think that this, 4?
Number 4.
Number 4.
So basically that's after the original trilogy, 3. I'd imagine, right?
Yeah. I would probably put this... Yeah, I would put it as number 4 or number 3, but like Rogue One is probably like number 3 for me. So
have you watched Rogue One a second time, John?
Yeah, and I like it. Yeah.
Oh man, I so disagree with that, but I guess you'll have to have him back if you
That's for another episode. Yeah,
it's definitely 3 for me. I think this is, in my view, these always go back and forth, but I think it's slightly better than Return of the Jedi for me. It's definitely Empire, original Star Wars, then Return of the Jedi. But
because I think Return of the Jedi was sort of a sign of things to come in terms of what the prequels ended up being.
Yeah,
you just started to get a sense of that stuff. Yeah, that's what, and it might be that's not fair to Return of the Jedi because
there's nothing like the end montage in Return of the Jedi when like he's fighting Darth Vader and the spaceships are fighting outside. That whole thing is unbelievable, and might be the best part of the entire thing.
That's true. It's impressive.
It's so good. It's so sad that like, the Ewoks and everything else and sort of the childish nature of some of the things that happens is surrounded by that, because that scene between the Emperor, Darth Vader, and Luke is some of the best stuff in the whole series.
Yeah.
I agree.
And TC, this is your favorite one of all of them. Yes. Sure.
Number one.
It is the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Any more thoughts, guys?
Sounds good.
No, Andy, this has been great.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Thanks
on,
a lot,
Andy.
man.
That was
I
great
love
addition.
this. Anytime you need a nerd to come and correct you guys, let me know.
Yes, always. Indeed.
Oh, challenge accepted.
Where do people go if they want to learn more about Grey Duck?
Please, all of our Facebook and Twitter is just Grey Duck Theater. So GRAY, not EY, Theater. We're in Rochester, Minnesota. We love film. If you're in the area, check out our Flying V program. That's our $20 subscription a month. You pay $20. You can go to any of our regularly scheduled shows.
That's
we
awesome.
have lots of Q&A and events and all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. People should definitely be getting that. People should definitely be buying that. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Wish we had more stuff like that out here. We do not.
Seriously?
Yeah, everything's it's LA. It's fucking, everything comes with a price. There's no
a matinee in LA is like $13.50 these days.
Yeah,
Jesus.
No, depending the theater, it's more like $16-17. And
Holy
you're
crap.
definitely not getting bulk deals on a good little theater that's got, charisma like I'm sure yours does. So everyone should definitely go check that out.
Sweet.
Absolutely. Also, this is just my personal plugging a movie. If you've listened this far, you're definitely a movie fan. If you haven't seen, I just watched this weekend, so I always like to give plugs. If you haven't seen Spike Lee's 1989 film, Do the Right Thing, and you're a movie buff, I would highly recommend seeing it. It's a fantastic, beautiful movie. It's my top 5 ever made. Fantastic. I think it's little seen, so I'm trying to tell everyone I know about it. Do the Right Thing. See it. It's great.
Nice.
Copy that.
Sweet. Well,
Thanks again, dude.
Yeah, thank you guys for
thanks
having
a
me
lot,
on.
Andy. Yeah,
Great
thanks, listeners, for listening. Go to our website, mission250filmcast.com. List Frozen, Facebook, Twitter. Like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
what do we
guys.
got next week, Denny?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, what is up next?
Warrior,
Yeah, do the
2011.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Gavin O'Connor,
Okay.
the youngest
I've
son of an
seen
alcoholic
this.
former boxer, returns home, where he's trained by his father for competition in mixed martial arts tournament, a path that puts the fighter on a collision course with his estranged older brother. It's Rush 2, the sequel.
Did I just say that out loud? That just sounds weird.
It's got Tom Hardy and Joel Egerton and Nick Nolte in it.
It's got good reviews.
Have you seen this one, Andy?
All right.
I have seen it. I really enjoy it. Tom Hardy's great in that. It's brutal.
Nice.
It's brutal.
There you go, TC. He's
All
got
right,
violence
well,
in it.
hey, I don't like the violence, All right.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
Cool. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Talk to you next week, and thanks again,
See
Andy.
you next time.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Later.
Stop